Welcome to Diz and Hers, the show about what's happening in the Disney community from his, hers, and your perspective.
And each week we break down the stories Disney fans are reacting to online, why they matter, and what they tell us about Disney right now.
Coming up on this week's episode, we're talking about why Disney nostalgia still hits so hard, from throwback games you haven't thought of in years to high-stakes Star Wars conversations in the park, viral character moments, and even an Epcot Festival nickname that absolutely should not work, but somehow does.
Let me just say, as a 90s kid, I know exactly what story we should start with. So right off the get-go, Lauren, I think we should talk about this Disney Afternoon collection that is getting a little rumbling online and people are talking about. What do we know about this?
Okay, so as far as I can tell, the ESRB listing indicates that the Disney Afternoon Collection is heading to Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2, nearly a decade after the compilation first launched on other platforms.
All right. You said an acronym in there that I'm not 100% sure of. I think I know what it is, but what is the ESRB?
Well, as far as I can tell, not being a gamer, but it stands for the Entertainment Software Rating Board.
All right. So it's kind of like when movies have to submit their ratings ahead of time and they get like the PG and G. So this is like the version. And I'm guessing this group, probably everything is more out in the public once you submit. Is that how we found out that this game is like coming to the Switch?
Yeah, and I think I saw this as it was happening because it went from different industry trades that cover Nintendo to speculation because this was filed just like filing a permit for a theme park expansion, to this is like something that is definitely happening in the works.
Right. So you saw it on some type of fan community from a Disney perspective, because I know you're not paying attention to video games, right?
No, I definitely am not paying attention to video games, not like that. But what really caught my attention was, I do keep my eye on things that are trending in the Disney community. And I saw this big spike in the search term Disney Afternoon. And I'm like, oh, I love Disney Afternoon. Like, what's going on? So then, any normal Disney fan would, I Googled it. And that's how I was kind of keeping tabs. I watched some videos on YouTube as to, what was going on. And, by the end of the day, the other day, the search volume was up nearly 5,000%. So that is a leading indicator that this is something that people are interested in hearing, more about.
Right. And I think that, so for those who are not familiar, if anybody that had an NES, a Nintendo system back in the day, they probably had one of these games or at least rented it or played. But the games were Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. I think there was there was DuckTales, DuckTales 2, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, and that is the Disney Afternoon Collective. And I think back in 2017, they actually put out like a game, but it wasn't on NES, I believe. So now like the fan community that's more into gaming is getting real excited. But obviously our demographic is not necessarily all gamers. I think we're all more Disney enthusiasts. So we think of Disney Afternoon. We don't immediately think of these like Capcom games that were made for the NES back in the 90s. We think of the actual Disney Afternoon block, which, correct me if I'm wrong, when did that start? Like 1990 about?
Yeah, it looks like about that time frame, like 90, 91-ish.
Sure. And it was basically a cartoon block that ultimately everybody was watching, and it had like what the Gummy Bears and DuckTales and Darkwing Duck and basically what all these games are. So we're looking at it and I think it's just kind of interesting. So why are we who's getting excited about it and why are we getting all excited about it? This is from the 1990s, a show and a general block of programming.
Yeah, but that's the programming that we all grew up with. And now we're the ones that are, the Disney adults. I mean, the AJ from the Disney Food Blog, she just wrote a whole book about Disney adults. And I think Disney sees that as an audience to capitalize on. So if you were watching this when you were a kid, you're probably in your 40s now.
Yeah, that makes sense. So roughly about like you're probably watching these. It's made for about 5 to 12, maybe 5 to 13 year olds, and so you were born probably 1980 to 1986 range. Yeah, so 40 to 47 years. So that is a pretty. So where it's pretty much what millennials, late Gen Z, and that's
Elder
probably
millennials.
yeah, yeah, the older millennials, right? Well, that's not the only thing. So this isn't the only time you've ever heard of this, right? So we pulled a story. I just found it online not too long ago, but it was from November, and Disneyland is doing some of their hours events from the 70th. Are you familiar with what some of the events that they're doing?
No, no. What are they doing for the 70th in the after
Well,
hours?
well, they have these after-hour events, and for the most part, they're kind of like you just go to the park and you can do your rides, and kind of like what Walt Disney World does. But I think it was even last year or the year before there was a big deal with meeting characters, and I mean Disney has announced this, but I saw it on this DTV News Facebook forum. But like Tuesday, March 3rd, and Thursday, March 5th, they're essentially confirmed that there are going to be Disney afternoon characters again, like Darkwing Duck. And it's just like almost a Disney afternoon block. And of course, people are excited about it. That post alone had like 99 shares, a whole bunch of comments, everybody's loving. But like, why is Disney leaning so hard into this? Is there something that we should know from a marketing advertising perspective?
If you listen to I Want That Too, this is a trend that we've been tracking with Disney for at least the last year to 18 months. They are leaning heavy into nostalgia, like the things that give you the warm and fuzzies, like remember Disney in its prime when it was so special for you, because they are about creating happiness in those moments. Like when I was doing the Disney Institute, like that is the foundation of what they teach, even from a customer service perspective. So that makes a whole lot of sense. But if you're looking at this through the lens of, advertising and marketing, I mean, if you're looking at that 40 to 47-year-old that would have been watching Disney Afternoon in the early 90s, they're part of the most influential, highly desired demographic, which is adults 25 to 54. And these people they have more of a, stable income. They've got some disposable income, and we're looking for high income, households, these households that make between $100,000 and $150,000. And Disney knows that a lot of the Disney adults are in that like a more affluent audience that has that buying power, or they're willing to give those dollars to Disney. And I mean, this group of people also is more likely to have children under the age of 12 themselves. So from a marketing advertising perspective, Disney Afternoon feels like a no-brainer. You have the target demo, you have their household income, and they have children to boot. So why not?
Right, and it's kind of like a double whammy too. So if you're going after necessarily gamers too, from this perspective that have like a disposable income and that like to play games, you also can tab on some of that. So it's interesting that the Disney Afternoon Collection, and you're seeing some of these characters crop up. But you mentioned Google Trends earlier, which is pretty fascinating that it's so high and jumped up. But I mean, news, will dictate some of that. So I went to Google
course.
Trends myself and said, all right, over the last 5 years, has Disney Afternoon ever trended, right? Surprisingly enough, we are not at the max. Like Disney Afternoon trended pretty hardcore in April of 2022. So I was perplexed. I'm like, all right, what the heck's going on here? Lauren, any idea what happened in April 2022 that would make Disney Afternoon the highest from a Google Trends perspective, people searching and talking about?
Well, wasn't that when the movie came out with like Chip and Dale? Like that was a pretty big deal for us, Disney adults or elder millennials.
You are exactly right. That is indeed when, and it came out exclusively on Disney Plus, which I think was kind of crazy because it seemed like it would have been a theatrical movie. This might have been that time frame.
That wasn't in the theater?
No, they put it out on Disney Plus. But yeah, in April it was the highest trend, and it was because a movie came out. So it was very interesting. If this trend continues and Disney is following this trend, do you think that there could be another movie at play? Do you think we could find ourselves having a Disney afternoon, one of the other characters having a movie, and whether it go to Disney Plus or not? I mean,
yeah. Okay. So I was connecting dots here. I'm almost wondering, like, could there be a movie that is literally like the compilation, like the Avengers of Disney Afternoon characters? Like, so I'm looking at this video game and I'm like, okay, so it's a collection. It has Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, has DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, the whole nine. And it's like, you're going on an adventure with Scrooge McDuck and you're fighting crime as, you know, Darkwing Duck or whatever. Like, could they be teeing up for a movie that would include all of the characters together?
listen, I looked online. I didn't see any type of Disney afternoon movie. I was checking to see if there was a Chip and Dale 2 coming out. Nobody's mentioning anything, but the Chip and Dale format itself is capable of doing something like that. It was human interaction. It was kind of like a Roger Rabbit spin on it. So I could see that happening, but we want to kind of hear from you guys. Do you think that, would you like to see a Disney afternoon movie? Did you like Chip and Dale? Would you like to see a Darkwing Duck or a Gummy Bears movie? So send us your thoughts or let us know in the comments if that is something that you'd be interested in. If you're one of those Disney afternoon kids like us, but we'll keep an eye on that and we'll see how this story goes. But you're right, Lauren. I think they are actually targeting the 40-year-olds that might have some money to spend on merchandise, park tickets, or movies for that matter, right?
I think so.
All right, well, let's move on to the next story here. And for all you Star Wars nerds, you'll get this one. But many Bothans died to bring us this information. But actually, not really. We just had to log on the internet because it's what everybody is talking about right now. Lauren, have you heard about the new Galaxy's Edge timeline expansion at Disneyland in 2026?
Yes, I have. And, just being a part of the Disney community, not because I am like a diehard Star Wars fan, just, giving you context to be fair. But what they're talking about is beginning April 29th of this year, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is going to be expanding beyond the timeline in this single era setting, which will allow guests to experience multiple time periods from across the Star Wars saga within Batuu.
Right.
So I'm just assuming that means that we're going to see Darth Vader in Star Wars land. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, so, you've seen the films, or at least you saw I believe you saw right after the originals. You have the Rey saga, right? That's what you actually
I saw
are most,
yeah.
and that is what they decided to make the whole land off of. So you've had Rey and you've had Chewbacca and you had, Kylo Ren as the bad guy. But over the years, people are like, no, we kind of want Luke Skywalker and we'd like the original stormtroopers and so forth. So what they're doing now is breaking it up in half. So where the Rise of the Resistance that is going to be the Rey saga. That's still where you have Rey, because that whole ride is about that Rey and all the characters there. Over where Millennium Falcon is, you're going to have Darth Vader and you're going to have Luke Skywalker walking around now, and even Princess Leia, I believe, are going to show. So they're in Disneyland. They have toyed with that before, because they've had Boba Fett and they've had Mandalorian and the Child or Grogu at that time over there. But they're breaking this up now, which is kind of controversial online, because many people have over time said, hey, why didn't we start with that? Right?
Yeah. Does this tie also to the new ride film for the Millennium Falcon, or are they like...
Yeah, no, the ride film is going to be the Mandalorian overlay.
Oh, because
right?
the movie is coming out.
Yeah,
right.
And
I
that
guess,
is prior to Rey.
why did they not start with this? Like, why are they just bringing in the classic characters that everybody already knows and loves? So, like, if you came up with watching Star Wars at its finest, like the Luke and the Leia and the Han Solo and all of that, like, why would they create a land like of new characters that weren't like really established?
That's the $1 million question, right? And that's the one that's everybody's been asking, because I think they went and bet big on Rey and those characters, but it just never hit. And I don't know necessarily. I mean, you have a lot of Star Wars fans, and Star Wars fans can be pretty finicky, and I'm one of those. We can complain about a lot of different things, and I think we were all jazzed about the episode 7 coming out, and we liked Rey and so forth. But then it had a lot of critique, and over time, it just kind of fell out of fashion. And I think Disney gambled and said, "Hey, we're going to go with this new franchise so we can continue to build upon it." But they never quite did. And I actually found a video, and we kind of stumbled upon it the other day. YouTuber Hey Bricky released a video that basically said these changes won't fix Galaxy's Edge. And at the time, it's got 20,000 views, lots of comments, and people are reacting to it. But overall, his summary was that the Star Wars changes, they're being celebrated by fans because I think we're all excited to get Darth Vader and Luke and so forth. But it's just small, low-cost adjustment. It's not going to fix the deeper creative problems. And ultimately, he said they went in and they didn't go full in. They went with this new Star Wars world with Rey and characters, but they never really fully gave it its all. And it's interesting because do you know what like the original Star Wars land was supposed to have?
Oh yeah, it was supposed to like tell me if I'm wrong, but it was supposed to be like completely immersive. Like you were living your Star Wars like story, and they were only going to talk in like the native language, and there were going to be like roving droids, and like it sounded really 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 cool. And at least in Disney World and like the Chapek era and all of that, it wasn't like a lot of that like stripped away to like create the even more immersive, $500 a night experience over at what was it called, Eric?
The Star Cruiser, right?
Yeah, the Star Cruiser. Yeah, like is that what it was supposed to be?
Right. Well, that was all the speculations, is that when they first announced you're going to have characters, droids, and creatures roaming the streets, you were going to have your own interactive gameplay. What you did on Smuggler's Run was going to actually impact when you went to Oga's or went to Doc Ondor, and it like never happened. And I think that was one of the major issues. So like if they bet on the new lands and creating your own characters and built off of that, because I mean this Black Spire has never been in a movie film franchise or not. They went off that as opposed to going with the original. Even I think the original plans was that it was going to be like Tatooine, and it was going to be places you knew, and you were going to go to Mos Eisley's, and you were going to see these characters that you've already dealt with. And they just moved away from that, and I think they gambled, and it did not necessarily pay off. I think we were all excited about having a new land, and then we were excited about these new possibilities, and then it just came out, and it was like, well, I don't see any droids walking around. So I think they're backpedaling, basically saying, all right, we're giving up on the new trilogy, and we've seen way more success with people that are tapping back, which kind of goes back to the people that have the money right now, the older millennials or our demographic right now who still remember growing up with Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, and so forth. So I was over on X, and I was just checking to see what the fan community was basically saying about this Galaxy's Edge, because I've heard it both ways, and I found a Fresh Baked Disney, which is a YouTuber and pretty prolific in this fandom, was basically posted this. Finally, Disney is bringing back the original trilogy characters to Galaxy's Edge. Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo. I can hardly believe it. It all starts April 29th. And of course, we had comments.
Yes. So we've got at Mr. Reedman01, he said, I mean, Disneyland never really had a problem with characters from different eras since we had Boba Fett and Mando with Grogu. It was Disney World that had the problem of being stuck because of the hotel, which we mentioned earlier. And then me, myself, and I says, yeah, Disney finally realizes who's paying the freight to come to the park. Us old guys born in the early 70s, and then in parentheses, paying to bring our kids and grandkids who grew up with the real Star Wars.
Yeah, so it kind of echoes a little bit what we said earlier. I mean, with the Disney World, because they had the Galactic Star Cruiser that was built in the Rey era, and they bring them over and they do all these tasks, you couldn't, in a sense, mix around, Darth Vader, who was dead, or this or that. Sorry, spoiler alert, everyone. And then it's just funny, yes. I mean, truth be told, even the guys in the early 70s, but people like myself, we had the special editions. So we grew up on Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader. So once again, like if in the long play might have been, the Rey saga, because I think that's like my daughter's, era, so to speak, but they're kind of paying for it right now because they just didn't see that. We don't evangelize about Galaxy's Edge as kind of we do for other things. But did you see this other tweet, Lauren? And it was interesting. It was from Rachel Suzanne Teen Wood, and it was kind of about merch. Did you see that one?
Oh, I absolutely did. So she's like, finally, Disney's waking up and making Galaxy's Edge great again. And then she goes on to say, but let's be real, they're only doing this because the sequel trilogy didn't give them enough merch options. Bring on OG characters and scores. So it sounds like she gets it. She gets the company and where their head's at.
Right. So I think this is very interesting. We'll be really paying attention to this. I would be interested to see if it happens at Disney World. But for right now, Disneyland is getting all the characters and it's broken up. And we'll see. I tell you right now, if I think people start, really, really laying in and like Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker has lines and lines and lines and merch sales, would you be surprised if they happen over here on the East Coast?
Heck no.
Because Star Cruiser's gone. So it is what it is.
Bring on the OG names and bring on the merch.
Right.
All right. With that being said, coming up next, we're going to talk about a single viral moment involving the evil queen that has reignited a much bigger conversation about character interaction and Epcot's Festival of the Arts and its new nickname and why Disney seems perfectly fine leading into it. But first, this.
AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn and I hire wrong. So our orders get all backed up. We're drowning in paperwork, then actually drowning, careless fighting off sharks with a stapler, and pirates are pillaging the office copier, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant goes beyond the resume, using unique insights to deliver a smarter shortlist. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
This episode is brought to you by Stouffer's. Here comes three-time juggling champion Natalia Rogers. She's juggling law school, her TA job. Oh, narrowly catches the laundry. What's that fourth ball? Parents unexpectedly showed up at dinner time? Is that too much for Natalia? Not with Stouffer's Chicken Alfredo and its mouth-watering mix of Asiago, Romano, and Parmesan. When you're juggling four things at once and the clock strikes dinner, think Stouffer's.
And we're back. So we're talking about a viral moment from this week that has to do with the evil queen. So, Eric, did you see that recently a Disneyland cast member who helped turn a classic villain into a modern fan favorite has officially stepped away from the role, or I guess been asked to step away from the role?
Yeah, and I think there were several viral moments over the tenure that has created this, but it looks like Sabrina Von B, who actually portrayed the evil queen over in Disneyland, is no more, so to speak. She's bitten the poison apple. Maybe she turned into the old hag and disappeared.
Crone. Jim would correct you and say the old crone.
That's right. No, but what happened was essentially she went over, and I saw this on Reddit, and it's all over the place, but she's kind of talking about how that's no longer happening and she's no longer there. And I don't necessarily know it was a choice. What have you been seeing online on kind of how this is sparked debate?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, she confirmed that she was let go by Disney after 8 years in this role. And I mean, she was immensely popular online. Like, people would go specifically to see if, they could interact with her. Like, she gave people the shareable moments for Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And I mean, this got so big that, it was even reposted by Good Morning America. So I'm thinking that, all the years that she has played some of these like infamous roles, and she was, funny and like without like cruelty and everything like that. I think that, she'll end up okay in this, but, it wasn't completely out of the blue, because I mean, back late in 2025, like, I guess there were rumors that were started about like guest complaints about offensive remarks, that may have put like her portrayal under, magnifying glass. And so obviously, being let go from anything, it probably stings a little bit, but she did publicly, express gratitude for that whole experience. So what do you make of all of this?
Well, I think there's a fine line. I mean, yes, I guess there could be situations where she could have got to the point where somebody took something wrong. I have a hard time believing somebody who's been portraying this for 8 years would not know the guidelines. And it was always a matter of, she even said, it's not about she was never cruel. She used humor more so. And you kind of always see that with the villain interactions. They're not like cruel. They're not going out. So yes, I guess there could have been some complaints. But some aspects, I thought this was really, really interesting, is that on the Disneyland Reddit forum, it basically explained the whole process. Very popular forum with 4,000 upvotes, 452 comments. That's a lot. But I found it really interesting. The N64 Andy Saurus 92 said it something. Whenever a character performer becomes bigger than the role they become known for on social media, that's usually the nail in the coffin for their Disney career. Their own safety, and basically for their own safety. Many character performers have been stalked by deranged fans. Now, I wouldn't say somebody trying to have an interaction with you in the park is necessarily stalk, but do you think it's a matter of like they almost got too big and it's like, all right, we need to move this character because it's becoming a problem where we're getting giant lines when we don't want the lines, or this person is getting a lot of the, notoriety, and we need the evil queen to be popular, not the character portraying it. What is you've been in situations where you've had to see this before?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking with this that, you've got to be careful there, just the way that you said. Disney is protecting the IP. They want the evil queen to be popular, no matter who is, being a friend of the evil queen versus one standout person. And then, Disney is very, very protective of what cast members can and can't do online as far as how how they're portraying themselves. And so I'm with you a little bit in the fact that, you know, she's been doing this for 8 years, very, very well known. Like, I think that maybe her termination was because she was getting a little bit too big. But no wonder she had gratitude. Like, you think, like, I think she's going to be just fine. Like, if you look at her social following, and I'm just looking at a post from TMZ right now that had 7.8 million views. So, like, somebody that is portraying a character just got pretty, you know, global recognition. I think she's going to be A-okay.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, she's not going to be able to portray the evil queen somewhere else, right? Like, they're you know, she's going to be like one of the knockoff characters, if anything. It's one of those, you know, when you go to Spirit of Halloween and there's a bag that's, you know, it's not Harry Potter's bag. It's the wizard with circle glasses kind of thing. So she'll be fine. And I don't know what she's going to do for a living, but at the end of the day.
Listen, Broadway, somebody give this girl a call. Like, clearly she's got some talent.
There you go. But it's interesting for anybody to keep an eye on. I guess if somebody gets a little too popular in their role, there might be a difficult conversation that they might have. But you will, pivoting over to where you can meet and greet and have a good, jolly time. Did you know that the Epcot International Festival of Arts is going on right now?
Yeah, unless you're living under a rock, I feel like we're officially back in festival season. And as for when we're recording this, we're only a couple days in to the Festival of Arts that runs from January 16th to February 23rd. This is like the little engine that could, I think, when it comes to Epcot festivals. And it seems like it's getting a little bit more popular every year. People are getting excited about it. But if you're not familiar, it is Epcot celebration of visual art, music, creative cuisine, as they describe it. And this is also when we're getting a lot of the Broadway performances as a part of the festival.
Yeah, and we've been there for the festival, and I've actually really, really enjoyed it. I'm, you know, a big fan of the arts and almost everything with it. And we've painted the little mural that they give you, and we've seen some of the shows over in the American Adventure Pavilion. It's fantastic. But what was funny is that those are searching online and or talking about it through blogs or vlogs or so forth. They have a nice little nickname that it seems like Disney would not necessarily care for, but it doesn't seem like they're shutting it down either. So I'll be in the most professional way. I won't force Lauren to break this news, but some people are saying, "Are you going to Epcot Farts this year?" Which is the acronym that is coming out of this. Lauren, when have you first heard people using this acronym?
Oh my gosh! Well, I think I can't remember if it was you that I told. So I was clearly excited. I do a merch podcast. I wanted to see what new merch was coming out for the Festival of Arts, and I was on Reddit, and somebody like referred to it as farts. And so then I asked you, I'm like, have you heard of this? And it's kind of like, you know, when you're thinking of a blue car, then you like see 5 blue cars. I don't know if like all of this just started cropping up because, you know, it's now on our radar, but I saw a friend of mine at Target over the weekend, and she's also a big Disney fan. And I was like, hey, do you have any trips planned? And she was like, oh yeah, we're going to Farts the first week of April. And I was like, what? Like, is this a thing that I just didn't know about?
Well, I think and that's why I went online. I'm like, all right, you know, I don't have a problem. I'll call it anything. But I went online to find out, and I just did the simple Google, who calls Festival of Arts farts? And we got our AI overview, and it did come up, and it's basically people, especially fans and bloggers. So it looks like the first article that came up was the Disney Tourist blog, and it was from a couple years, and they're kind of talking from a humorous standpoint, the acronym FARTS, which is Festival of the Arts. And it does sound like some people are doing, but others are not. And as I was scrolling and I searched hashtag on Instagram, I did find WDW Prep School, which is a podcast and a blog that's been around for quite some time. And she refuses. She's going to call it FOA, which the hashtag hashtag FOA instead of hashtag farts. So, Lauren, where do you fit on this? Do you think people are calling it FOA? Do you think they're calling it farts, or are they just doing the old classic using the full name?
Well, I mean, I've never personally seen anybody call it FOA. And then when I started digging, like there are certainly a lot of people that are calling it farts. And personally, I am fine with either one. I think that like my like young boy humor deep down like comes up. I think it's personally hilarious. I'm not offended, but I'm sure like if you would look up like Disney farts or like Epcot farts, you would get a lot of like obscure
no, Lauren,
responses. I don't know.
You know, I did that. I did as they.
Oh.
So I did check the hashtag. I typed it. I just went. You can't just type in farts or FOA. Those are, you don't know what those are. So I did type in Epcot FOA versus Epcot farts on Instagram. And although there's not a ton of data, there was fewer than 100 posts for Epcot FOA. And of course, the farts had 500 plus posts. So then I went to see what other people were typing into Google. So you get, the common recommended. So if you type in Disney farts, you definitely get farts Disney 2026, which that is essentially meaning people are typing in Festival of the Arts, their acronym, in Epcot farts.
Wait, you don't think that like people are planning their trips around like 2026 Disney farts?
No. There is, but the funny thing is, if you do it on TikTok, you do get some really, really funny forums. I did find a very funny forum on Reddit that was, this is a little crude, but somebody asking, and there was a lot of people answering, are more people farting in Disney World this year than ever? Which is just hysterical and fun to me. But you do get things like Disney Farts 2025 menu showing up. So there's like, people are typing it. We're not the only ones. And it is probably going to stick as more and more influencers and bloggers and podcasters just start calling it that. And here's the thing, Lauren, I swear, and I do not think I'm making this up, there was an official Disney social channel that used the acronym this week, and I could not find the screenshot that somebody shared.
No, I think you're right, though, because when I brought this up to the friend I saw at Target, she was like, yeah, and I felt like I saw Disney post something this week where they're referring to it as farts. So I don't think you're making it up.
No. But I mean, it's a shame that we have to end the show on such potty humor, but we do want to hear from you guys as well. What are you calling it? Are you going the full route? Are you going farts? What hashtag are you using?
I want to know, are you team Epcot farts or team FOA?
Yeah, that's what we need to know. So you definitely let us know. But Lauren, I think that's going to wrap things up today. I think we had some great conversation in terms of what's going on in the community, and certainly want to hear from everybody else.
Yep, I think that you're right. I think that does it for this week's episode of Diz and Hers.
And for more, you can hit us up at dizandhers.com, where you'll find episodes, updates, and probably a few things we regret saying, kind of like probably the last 5 minutes of this episode.
Yeah. And if Disney's your vibe, hit subscribe. And remember, watch what you post online. You may end up in next week's episode. And that does it for today. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Diz and Hers.